Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we need to take a look at 3 brand new Valmonica cards. This is huge. Valmonica, one of the new deck build packs from the most recent one, and honestly, of the 3, by far to me the most underwhelming. I thought the way the mechanic worked, that it's a pendulum deck, but it's not a full-on pendulum deck with enough like pendulum monsters to do what it wants to do. All the time and thoroughly, and it feel like it was really weak to interaction and stuff. It just wasn't all the way it for me. But 3 new cards is a really good sign, and if these are good enough, maybe there's a world where this deck actually has the guts to move forward. But let's get into it. Let's take a look at the brand new cards. The first one here is Celatris Valmonica. It's a new level 4 water spellcaster. 1200 attack, 1200 defense. Hard ones returns for the first and the third effect, not the second. The first effect reads, if this card is normal or pendulum summoned, you can add 1 Valmonica card from your deck to your hand. That's already a phenomenal effect. It's a Stratos, and that's actually really good because the deck really didn't have a normal summon so far in the deck, and that actually could be really, really key for this deck. But the fact that it's not only normal summon, but pendulum summon too, also can come up here because the deck does set up scales pretty consistently, so that's really nice as well. Second effect, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks while you control a monster other than Celatris Valmonica. That's not a huge one to me. This doesn't really ring to me like a card that you're consistently like leaving on the field, so I don't really understand this second effect, but it is what it is, I guess. It's fine. I don't know. This to me is the bonus effect for sure. And the third effect, if this card is sent to the graveyard and you have 2 Valmonica cards in your pendulum zones, you can add this card to your hand. That's really nice. This basically what this is to me is this is their way of making this essentially a pendulum monster, like your best pendulum summonable monster. That's not a pendulum, almost like a pendulum, because normally you'd like, if you normal summon a monster and link it off or whatever, if it's a pendulum, it's going to extra deck to be pen summoned later in the turn as part of the combo. That's kind of like what this is for this deck, although this card doesn't have to be pen summoned if you don't want to. You can still just hold it in your hand and say, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and save this as a normal summon next turn. It's a 1-card play next turn. I don't know for sure if it's a 1-card play. I honestly don't know this deck that well. I'd have to see some combos post this support and see what people are cooking up. But this is a good card in a vacuum. Just a Stratos that then recoups itself fairly consistently. And I would assume that if this resolves, you're going to get both scales pretty consistently. Sounds good to me. I think that's a really, really good start. Much needed card for the archetype for sure. Next up, we have Valmonica Invitare. This is a quick play spell. You can only activate a card with this card's effect once per turn. You apply one of these effects. So it's going to have 2 different effects. You got to pick one. You cannot do both in the same turn. Special summon 1 Valmonica monster from your deck. Also, you cannot activate monster effects on the field for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except for Valmonicas. Interesting. And the second effect, if you control a non-pendulum Valmonica monster, take 2 Valmonica pendulums with different names from your deck, add 1 to your hand. Add 1 to your hand, and if you do, add the other to the extra deck face up. Interesting. So here's some interesting stuff here. This card reads like a custom card. I'm not totally there for sure if this card is deciding if this card is like out of this world yet. I think it's decent. I think at worst it's a decent extender. It can help you get to certain stuff. That's fine. But here's the thing. This deck only has 3 different monsters you can even summon out of the deck anyway, and that's clearly supposed to be like the main effect you're going for. This card only searches on normal or penned, and this card's only being pendulum summoned if it was able to be added back to hand with the third effect, which means not only would you have to special summon this, but this is not searching on that, and you would still have to have access to the scales at the same time to make sure this card's going to be able to be added back to hand so that you can eventually pen summon it again to get its actual search effect to resolve. So I'm not sure how consistently that's going to be available to us. So this reads like an insane E-Telly type card, but I'm not sure if the targets are all the way there. And as far as the other two, they have nice effects where they can, like, I think some of them can target, can like, I don't know if they target or banish one of the spell and traps engraved, because all the spells and traps seem to have like two different effects. One will like gain you life points, one will lose you life points. They kind of correspond to the fairy or fiend portion of the deck. And they can like either banish or just target and copy whatever the appropriate effect would be, depending on which one you're summoning. So like there's still utility here. I'm just saying I'm not sure if this is a one card combo or anything like that, and that would be best case scenario, right? We've seen that with actually Telly and like Punk and stuff, and how that kind of hit decently hard into the TCG a while ago. But to me, this card reads like a custom card. I'm just not sure it performs that way because of how the rest of the deck is kind of designed. And the second effect's not bad either, right? Being able to add one of the Valmonica pendulums and put the other in the extras, that way you're going to be able to pendulum summon it out. That's not bad. That's decent value. But again, you have to have access to the rest and being able to set up everything else. Just not all the way sure if that's going to be the case every time. So it's interesting. It's cool. I just need to see more, and I honestly need to see what people are cooking up, because this deck is kind of complicated the way it works. And the last effect here, the last card we have is Valmonica Disharmonia. This is a normal spell. You can only activate one card with this name once per turn. First effect, place one resonance counter on a card in your pendulum zone that you can place a resonance counter on, then apply one of these effects. The first one is going to gain you 500 life points. Then you can add a banished Valmonica card from your deck to your hand. Or the second one is take 500 damage, then you can add a Valmonica card from your deck to from your graveyard to your hand. Sorry. Either way, very interesting. This is clearly a recovery type card. To me, this is probably the least impactful of the three, but that doesn't even mean it's bad, because I believe that this will be super searchable and stuff. Plus, it places resonance counters, which is also really huge, and it could potentially help you like recoup something before you pen summon as well, which is nice as well. It's cool. I'm not sure the best use for it. To me, this is one of those cards. This is a quintessential, maybe one of this. That's exactly how this card reads to me. There's a world where, depending on if the deck needs more follow-up or it's a good kind of extender in certain scenarios, it's a perfect one of. And other than that, you do not play this card. I can't see too many scenarios where you're playing more than one of this card. But it's easy to get access to. It helps you also place resonance counters, which is really cool because the pendulum monsters in scale say, like, if you pay life points or gain life points, depending on which one it is. The fairy is gain, the fiend is pay. If you do one or the other to activate an effect, you get a resonance counter, and the whole goal is to get 3 resonance counters on your pendulum monsters. So not only does this place one, but then it can also either gain or take you one to get a second counter, all off of one card. And then you're only one counter away at that point. So that could be the key here. Maybe it's a part of certain combos because it's going to be able to get you double counters on one of the monsters, and that could be the difference between getting 3 or not. But still an interesting card nonetheless. To me, the least impactful of the 3, I think, unless it's literally the difference in combos, being able to get double counters. But you guys will have to let me know down below. Again, I'm on the record saying this has by far been the least impactful of the 3 new archetypes from the most recent deck build pack. But I'm open to being swayed on that. This is pretty good support. Now, Centurion was so far ahead of the other 2, and it hasn't gotten any support yet. So, like, I'm not sure if either of the other 2 are jumping in at this point. But there is still something to be said about, is it just good now? Is it just like a good rogue deck, a good, solid, playable deck that you can take to a regional and actually have a chance to have success? I don't know. I need to be filled in on that. So if you are somebody who specifically messes around with this deck, I would love to hear that down below. This just hasn't really been my cup of tea so far, this specific strategy. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'd love to dig in more on this archetype and see what they can really do, if it actually is something worthwhile. But in the meantime, I'm chilling on them. I think it's really good support, though, overall, right? We got a Stratos that recurs itself. We got an E-Telly. That's a quick effect, and we have a really good recovery card that may be the difference in getting the full setup the deck wants to get more consistently. That's honestly pretty huge. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you know more about this archetype than I do, I'd love to hear your interpretations on these cards out the gate here. And also keep an eye out, because we've got Memento yesterday. We got Valmonica today. Are we getting more Centurion support? Because that could be the whole thing. That's the archetype that's already in the lead, and it's kind of set to get more support at some point. Anyway, that could be a doozy. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated, though. I think this leaves us with like 10 cards left in the set that we don't know. I will keep you updated on anything that drops between now and the end of the set. Of course, any other news as well. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on anything Yu-Gi-Oh! News. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.